That lecherous old bugger. Well, that's what most people would think about him. Some people consider him a venerable, or practically a saint, really, when you think about the lifetimes that he's devoted in worship to God. Now, a conflicting, bubbling pot. Whatever's going on inside is perhaps reflected by the twisted visage on the outside, as Vlatsky is in the conservatory of the Crane Hotel at the moment. His head is rested on his hand, and he's got Sam sitting across from him, Samuel McGee, speaking to him quite rapidly. And his brow just continues to furrow, and it doesn't look like he's really listening until eventually he just holds his hand up and shakes his head, leans forward and says something very quietly to his remaining priest, and then nods, and Sam frowns at him, gets up, and then turns and doesn't storm off, but he's obviously unhappy with the outcome, and he's left at the table alone.
Sabina will take a seat. Vatsky. I just wondered if you wanted to have a talk.
I think I've heard all that I need to hear from you tonight.
Okay. If you saw me the gargoyle, I wanted to speak to you.
What did that witch tell you? What promises did she make you? How long has she been whispering in your ear?
She's been a friend for a while.
She's not your friend. You are a puzzle piece to her. She is bending your mind to worship a false god. And she is confused in herself, and she will reflect that onto you. And there is very little you can do about it now, because you've drunken her tainted bitch blood.
Please don't call her that. She hasn't warped my mind, Vlatsky. She's not forcing me to join the circle. I am not part of the circle.
I know that. I know you have not joined them. Because everybody doubts. I doubt. My faith has not been unyielding for all these years. No, there have been times where I have recanted and raged against God, or abandoned him, or felt like he had abandoned me. But each of those moments I could recover from. That bitch priestess has decided not. She has chosen willfully to indulge her heart with heresy, to manipulate, to corrupt, to form a cult around herself based on lies, misdirection, and black magic. And even now, she endears herself as a sympathetic thing to you in your mind. And as difficult as it will be for you to even see it, it is happening. I've seen it happen so many times before. She is luring you in with false promises, with appreciation. When has she ever criticized you? When has she ever said a bad word to you? And when have I?
There's been no false promises. There's been no promises. It was exceptional circumstances.
You agreed to it. You announced before the whole court that you chose her as your sire. I thought you may not choose at all. Or at least I thought you may have chosen better.
It was exceptional circumstances.
What does that mean? Did she threaten you?
No, she saved me.
From what? You're in the prime of your life. She may have put you in more danger now than you ever were while you were breathing. Did she save you from Reed? Is that it? It wasn't it. It was something else.
I can't say. There's just been too much bloodshed tonight.
So it begins. You make her privy to a secret I cannot know. Because you value her companionship more than you value mine, I understand.
It's not that. I'll tell you, but it doesn't go further than us.
She is abusing the power that God gave her to create you. You know that. You aren't meant to be damned. There was so much in you that was just the love you had for your family, the good you saw in the world.
It's
I would
still
not.
there.
No, no, it's not. And even if some dreg of it remains, it will be eaten away by the decades. What she has done to you was not what should have been intended. She's condemned you. That's what she's done. She's taken you from a state of grace and placed you into a state of damnation, a state that you should have earned for yourself, a state that you should have earned in life. No, she chose you for a selfish reason.
Nothing about it was selfish.
Really.
Really.
Was your life in danger?
She doesn't say anything, but it's based. There's almost like a small nod, and her eyes kind of. She looks down, and her eyes dart to a certain kindred in the room. Martina. But it's kind of like, again, non-verbal, just an anxious kind of tick.
My child, if you had died, you would have gone gladly into God's kingdom. Why did you let her keep you here against it? Why did you let her make you forced to face the same fate as the rest of us? Why would she do that to someone like you?
Because she hoped I could change that, maybe. Because she didn't want me to go out that way. Don't know, but.
And this will make it better. Do you know how we die? Burning. Burning or shrieking in nightmares. This is a core difference. In fact, this may be the reason I loathe her kind so much. The embrace is not a reward, and it does not save anyone. It just gives them more time on this earth to sin in a vessel which makes it all the more easier because they crave blood and violence and they cannot control themselves.
More time to love, more time to help others, more time to keep things growing.
Longinus did not pierce Christ's side out of love. He did it out of hate. We are not imbued with a hunger for the living out of love. Not us. That is God's duty. We are predators. We are wolves. We are those who were so damned, so sinful, so violent, so hateful, so self-loathing, so antagonistic towards all that is good in the world, that the only role God could see for us to play was to be his wolf. There is no redemption for us beyond the judgment day. And by the time that comes, there are very few, I can honestly say, who will have earned it. But they did not earn it by being kind. They earned it by being ruthless, by enacting God's plan, by acting in harmony with their being. Sabina, you are not like that. What has been done to you has changed you. You know, do you know why I was embraced? Has anyone ever told you that? Have you ever learned it or guessed it or thought about it?
No, I don't know.
I lived in a small town. It was a village, really. I think you may have driven through it once or twice, if what you've told me on your holidays, your time in what is Poland now, was anything different. I was a fourth or fifth, I cannot remember how many older siblings I had, but I was certainly not a firstborn boy. But I was clever, and I studied, and I was taken under the wing of the minister in the church and raised. Now, we lived in difficult times, barbarous times. There were bandits and worse things. War came to our home more than once. One night when it came, I was sitting in the confession booth. I was not confessing, I was reading, indulging a little personal passion of mine, looking and reading over the reign of czars in a distant kingdom. You know, when I heard the violence outside, when I heard the screaming, there was a part of me that knew what it was because I recognized the screams. They weren't invaders, they were my family, they were my friends. They were the people who had sacrificed themselves for me. My mother sacrificed her own body for me. My father sacrificed his livelihood to provide for me. The minister, he sacrificed his time and his own pursuits in order to provide for me. There was a call in me to help them, to run out, distract these foes, to swing at them, to fight them, to die in defense of God's kingdom. I tore up the floorboards and I curled up into a ball and I hid. I hid until I couldn't hear any more screams. I hid until they had taken every last treasure from that church, overturned the pews, set a flame to the altar, and desecrated the cross. Until they had barricaded the doors in, for they had found that the church was a fitting home. And they sat there and they ate and they gloated and they shit on the floor. Until morning came and they left. And I was left to walk. And that whole day I saw the desecration of my decision. And when that came, I was the only survivor. And that is when my sire chose me. Because he didn't see redemption in me. He saw a broken thing, only fit to die quickly and be passed through hell's muster as soon as possible, or to serve some part in God's plan still. The part I still serve tonight, reminding reminding the good in this world that being virtuous is difficult, and reminding the sinners that worse is to come. Sabina, if your family was burning, you would save them. I've seen it. You saved your uncle. You have fought, and you would die for them. Now, you've put them in more peril than ever. That is why what she has done to you is a selfish decision.
I wanted to get them out of the city. The main problem with that was funny thing about what Reed did. I was racking my mind trying to figure out what favors I could pull to have someone make them forget me. Now they do. I'm sure with a little persuasion, I could get them to leave the city and go elsewhere, but that doesn't mean they'll be any safer.
They're beneath your concern now. You have far more important things to look forward to. You have to make the most of what has been done to you. And if I can play some part in that, I will. But I doubt that your parent will allow it. I do not hate you, Sabina. I think you've made a mistake. I think that you have acted rashly, but young people do. This is not a mistake that can be undone. But though you did not do it to yourself, she has a worse part in this. She's manipulated you and divested you of responsibility that she thinks she has. No. There is still a chance for you to join God in his kingdom, but it will be different. It will be difficult, and it will not rely on the same virtues you had in life. And I sincerely hope you will come to see that.
I'm gonna try and build upon those virtues in life.
Anyone who tries is defeated in time. That is why we should only change the unrepentant. Those you will. But it is ultimately just a fantasy. She will convince you of that just as readily as I will. She has years under her belt. Will you be havening with her?
Mm-hmm.
And St. Jude's, will you return?
With your permission, I'd certainly like to visit.
There are those in my covenant who would not tolerate your presence anymore. There are those who would. Make your intentions clear to me in the nights to come. Allow yourself to determine your own path. When that is done, when you can speak honestly and truthfully, I don't think you've deceived me, but I think you've deceived yourself. When you are clear, I will wait.
Thank you, Vatsky.
I do not know why you're thanking me. I don't see any comfort in what I've been telling you.
It means a lot.
He leans forward and he grabs your hand at that point before you go and switches to speaking Polish. She really is a monster to have plucked a flower like you.
I was.
Weep for what you have lost while you can, before you forget. Weep for the life she took from you.
I'm trying to think of the life I can make. It's just hard. Please don't let anybody see that I'm crying.
They would have me rejoice that you have joined our ranks. And he lets your hand go at that point and leans back. I won't. I will still pray for the Sabina I knew.
And I'll do my best to ensure it's still the Sabina you know. Good night, Letsky. And quickly drying her tears, she'll stand with a bow of her head and leave.